Hello, infidels. This today is your Gypsy theologian. It's a little bit different from Bohemian. It's Gypsy. It's got a little more edge to it. But I want to ask a question. Was Jesus, at least to some degree, sort of like a gypsy? And then I'm going to sing a song for you. Was Jesus a gypsy? Well, to some degree he was a gypsy. Now, he hung out outside of town with a group of people, stirring up, I suppose, some would say stirring up a little bit of trouble. Of course, they were good people, decent people. And in many ways, they were law-abiding people. Christ followers. Even back in the day, Jesus said, honor, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give unto God what is God. So in that sense, he wasn't a rabble-rouser. He was only a rabble-rouser to those that were hardened in their traditions and in their understanding of God that he needed to put into check. But he did have, at least the scripture says, there was at least one in the group that liked to take things that didn't belong to him. So in that sense, obviously there's some gypsies that might have had a little problem in the same area. But yeah, he had a group of people like the gypsies outside of town. Sort of not mixing that well with the culture, you could say. And they wandered around. The disciples sort of wandered. Jesus wandered the countryside, sort of like the Egyptians. But I like a current day gypsy. Because I do like to watch a little bit of boxing. See? Watch a little boxing. Come on, hit him. Hit him, Joe Frazier. Hit him. Hit him, Joe. Hit him, Joe. But one of my favorite boxers now, of course, is the Gypsy King. So I'm the Gypsy theologian. He's the real Gypsy King, though. I think he really has a background in being from that area of the world. See, gypsies, I think they were originally, might have been from India, and then people thought they were from Egypt. They sort of got the name gypsy. But they're sort of they're like 10 million people all over Europe. And this Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, he's a great boxer, he's got a great attitude. And I heard him preaching after a fight once too, saying Jesus is great and all of that, but he's fun, he's got a great sense of humor, and he's known as the Gypsy King. He comes in at it like a king in some of his matches, and he's a world champ, and he's British. Can you believe he's not from the U.S. and is a world champ? Yeah, it's like a Lennox Lewis. He's sort of like almost as good as Lennox Lewis. Was unbelievable. Lennox Lewis, as a British boxer, man, he was thunder. But this guy, Tyson Fury, is a little bit unorthodox. He's really tall, his arms are long, and he can hit you from every angle. And he's had a lot of great success. But he came, I think he has a real the Egyptians. But the Egyptians, the gypsies. Tyson Fury had a bloodline. I think he's got to the gypsies in Europe. So there's like 10 million of them, and they're sort of a persecuted group. Now, some of it they bring on themselves. They've had a history maybe of thievery and some other nefarious things. But they're just people like anyone else, and they've actually been persecuted. And there are, groups of Christian gypsies. But they've been persecuted, and of course the biggest persecutor of the Gypsies was Adolf Hitler in the 40s and stuff. They ended up also in like Auschwitz, some of those areas like the Jews, because I don't know, it just didn't fit into what the Germans thought humanity should be. So in that sense, they're persecuted, and they still are persecuted because they're unconventional. And Jesus, in some ways, you know, with his group of 12 trolling around the countryside, you know, they're also kind of unconventional in some ways. I don't know how common that was back then, where you took a group of disciples and wandered around. I think Socrates did that, but that was way before Jesus, but still. So maybe it wasn't that uncommon, but still, in many ways, they didn't jive with the culture. Now, remember, Christ was very humble, and his apostles were working on humility themselves. So it's not like they wanted to cause trouble. You know, they only wanted to cause trouble, or Jesus, if people weren't loving God the way they were supposed to. Otherwise, Jesus is meek and humble of heart. That's why Jesus is so attractive, because he's so meek and lowly of heart. Any of us can come to him and totally bare our hearts without him, like, really judging us harshly. And, you know, Jesus is obviously a sweetheart, a lover of humanity, and he's very meek and lowly of heart. And you know, the greatest example of that is John the Beloved, you know, the gospel writer, the fourth gospel, John the evangelist. Actually, speaking of theologians, he's also known in church history as John the theologian. Well, a theologian, they say, is one who prays. You know, you have to pray to be a theologian. It's not so much book knowledge, although that's important to understand things, understand the faith, but really a theologian is one who prays. And John the theologian was sort of a mystic. I mean, he loved God, he loved Christ, and he laid his head on the breast of Christ. Of course, that's well known, like at the Last Supper, and I think in other texts too. And he was, you know, he's one of the apostles that had a tradition. You know, there were John's disciples. I think one of them might have been Polycarp, St. Ignatius of Antioch. They wrote some letters. They sort of came from the disciples of John. Now, they're all united under Christ. You had Peter. The three big ones are Peter, Paul, and Mary. No, not really. Peter, Paul, and John are the three apostles that sort of have different personalities. You have Peter, of course, the organizer, you know, the first pope, as Catholics believe. And then you have Paul, the great evangelizers. And so you have Protestants love Paul, because Paul carries the gospel all over the place. And then John is a little more of a mystic. You know, he's the apostle of love. And I think we need to focus more, as evangelicals, Catholics, and of course Eastern Orthodox, they claim John sort of as their apostle, the apostle of love. But I think all of us need to be more like John within our culture. You know, we got to be the apostle of love, because there's a lot of hurting people out there, a lot of young people that are hurting. And, you know, it's all about love. God is love. Jesus is love. Jesus is meek and humble of heart. And we should be attracted to Jesus in that sense. So we're the Gypsy Theologian today. That's my channel name. Was Jesus a gypsy? Yeah, and in some ways he was. is a young cowboy, lives on the range. His horse is his only companions. He works in the saddle and he sleeps in the canyons, waiting for summer, his pastures to change. As the moon rises, he sits by his fire, thinking about many glasses of beer, closing his eyes as the dog is retired. Sings out a song that's soft but is clear, as if maybe someone could hear. I'll get this right. Good night, you moonlight ladies. Rock-a-bye, sweet baby Jane. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Won't you let me go down in my dreams and rock-a-bye, sweet baby Jane. Now the 1st of December is covered with snow. So is the turnpike from Stockbridge to Boston Bar. Berkshire seemed dreamlike on account of that frosting. With 10 miles behind me, 10,000 more to go. There's a song that they sing when they to the highway, song that they sing when they to the sea, song that they sing their home, the sky. Maybe you can believe it, that helps you to sleep. Just singing, but singing works just fine for me. Come on everyone, you know it. Good night, you moonlight lady. Rock-a-bye, rock-a-bye, sweet baby Jane. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Won't you let me go down in my dreams? Won't you let me go down in my dream, and rock-a-bye, sweet baby Jane, dreams, and rock-a-bye, sweet baby Jane. Like that channel, the Gypsy theologian in the house. Have a great day.